Maverick buff, Oryx buff, Mute buff, Tubarão buff, Reaper buff, and more. Here is the Year 11 Season 2.3 patch notes for Rainbow Six Siege. Now, this is the final patch update before Year 11 Season 3, which is crazy to say. And as well as this, we will be getting the Rengoku event alongside this patch, either today or tomorrow. So we're gonna get straight into these patch notes. I just ask, if you haven't subbed already, please hit that sub button. It's free. You can always unsub at any time, and that like button as well. Let's do this. Right, so to begin with, Hibana. Her Cairo pellets now detonate 0.2 seconds faster than they did before, so 3.8 seconds down from 4 seconds. I know that sounds a bit minimal, but you have to remember as well, those 0.2 seconds can be the difference between a bandit and Kai trick going off and the wall being open. So every 0.2 second in this game matters. So what Ubisoft said is, Hibana's X-Kairos already offer a high degree of flexibility, but deploying pellets can sometimes leave her exposed for longer than intended. This small adjustment reduces the delay before detonation, allowing her to act more quickly after committing utility. So yeah, a minimal change to Hibana, but this next one, which is for Maverick, is pretty decent. So they've buffed his breaching torch and specifically the capacity of this torch. So they've increased the canister ammo to 160, and it was previously 144. And then because they've increased the canister ammo of both canisters to 160, that now means that the total ammo is 320. If you weren't aware, back in Year 10 Season 4, Ubisoft changed Maverick to make him have less canisters. However, each canister had way more ammo than it did before, so it was a much better improvement to Maverick. And basically, they just buffed him again, so he just has more ammo. Like, you can just breach more of the wall. What they've said is, resource management is a core part of Maverick's gameplay. Increasing the available fuel gives players a bit more flexibility when creating openings, making the breaching torch more forgiving without changing its overall role. So, very simply, Maverick can just breach more walls. You can make more mistakes with him. You can use more on hatches. He just has more utility, basically. That's pretty significant for Maverick, if we're being honest, an already very valuable operator. One of my favorite attackers has just received a buff. We are getting a buff for Fuze, and I absolutely love this one. The breaching time on reinforced surfaces and armor panels, so castle, is now 1.75 seconds, down from 2 seconds. So we can now breach reinforced walls faster. This is massive for me. I use Fuze all the time, especially to counter Tubarão when they're doing like bandit tricks and stuff like that, and this is going to be such a huge buff for me. Like, that increase in time is going to change everything, because I already pull this off most of the time, but there will be those little times where maybe the Zoto canister will go off too early, or, you know, not too early, but too fast for my liking as the attacker. This is just making Fuze even better at countering Tubarão, countering bandit tricks, and just, you know, breaching the reinforced walls. What Ubisoft have to say is, Fuze's cluster charges can be difficult to deploy on reinforced surfaces without exposing him to defenders. This small speed increase improves responsiveness and allows him to execute plays more reliably. So yeah, with Fuze being one of my most played attackers, I absolutely adore this. Maybe people will finally stop sleeping on Fuze. I always tell everyone how great Fuze is as an operator, so I'm just so chuffed that this is happening. Right, I just mentioned Tubarão a second ago, but he is also getting a buff himself. They're increasing the Zoto canister range to 3.2 meters up from 3, so an increase of 0.2 meters. I actually think this can kind of maybe be a bit of a nerf if you think about it in a certain way, because if you place your Zoto canister right now at the very top of a breach, you can avoid freezing bandits' charges, which will then of course help the electricity remain on the wall once the Zoto canister ends. However, now that the Zoto canister has an increase of 0.2 meters, you may actually start to catch those bandit batteries, and it just may mess up your placements of the Zoto canisters and inadvertently start freezing more of your own defender utility. I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever been in a situation where Tubarão's Zoto canister range has been too small. So I kind of see this as a bit of a nerf. Like, me personally, this is going to mess up more of my strats as Tubarão because we're going to end up freezing my own gadgets. Maybe that's part of the equation, but that's not what they said. They said, the Zoto canister's area of effect plays a key role in controlling space and denying actions. This small increase improves coverage and placement forgiveness, making its impact more consistent. So, yeah, I don't know. The balancing team seem to have a different view on this, but I honestly see this more as a nerf in my opinion. Right, next up we have Oryx. This is quite a good one. They have made his dash recharge time 5 seconds down from 8 seconds. So you're able to dash more frequently than you were before. Now, I still don't think this addresses the key issues with Oryx as an operator, but what Ubisoft have to say here is Oryx's mobility is central to his identity. Reducing the dash recharge time allows him to reposition and react more frequently, reinforcing his role as a highly mobile defender. Now, I think it's very interesting that Oryx is getting this little buff right now, because you also have to remember next season, so literally the next patch after this, we are getting a dedicated shield counter operator. And I know that countering shields isn't Oryx's only ability and his only purpose, but it's pretty much mostly what he's used for. So will we see more improvements come to Oryx in the next update as well? Will they buff Oryx alongside the introduction of this operator? Because I do feel like this operator is just going to overshadow Oryx when it comes to countering shields. So there has to be a bit more of a reason to bring Oryx. You do still have the hatch ability. Heck, I used that yesterday in ranked and it paid off for me to counter, you know, a flank. So it's not that he's going to be useless. I just find that interesting when it comes to timing. Yet, believe it or not, Mute has actually received a buff in this patch. They have increased the disruption range of his jammer to 2.6 meters, up from 2.475 meters, and they've increased the disruption warning to 4.875 meters, up from 4.75. So Mute already got a bit of a range increase back in Season 4 of Year 10, and they've just increased it even more. So what Ubisoft have to say here is Mute's signal disruptors often require very precise placements to cover key entry points and drone paths. This increase in range makes deployments more forgiving and improves coverage consistency without changing how the gadget is used. Yeah, overall, I think that's a good buff to Mute. I just still don't see this as the issue with Mute. The issue with Mute is that he doesn't counter Grim. And that's like one of the major things here. I know they're changing it in Season 3 that he counters Dokkaebi even after the call went out, but again, he still needs to counter Grim. That's still such a key part of him as an operator that needs to be changed. Right, Impact EMPs have had a buff. Their range is now 2 meters, up from 1.8, so a bigger blast radius with the Impact EMPs. What Ubisoft have to say here is, Impact EMPs often rely on precise placement to affect multiple electronic devices. Increasing their radius makes these interactions more forgiving and consistent without significantly expanding their overall utility. And you'll notice a lot, by the way, in these refinement patches when Ubisoft are given their explanation for these changes, that they'll always kind of close it off with like, oh, without significantly expanding or without significantly changing it, because they want to emphasize that they're not like properly changing these pieces of utility or these gadgets. They just want to make them a bit better. So they always try and drum that in with these refinement patches. So yeah, you'll be able to EMP stuff 0.2 meters more than you would before. I mean, again, that's great. You'll catch electric claws more, bandit batteries, everything else. Not a bad thing at all. It's actually a very welcome improvement to Impact EMPs. So now they are 2 meters. And the final buff in this patch is going to be for the Reaper Mark II machine pistol. They are improving the recoil on both mouse and keyboard and controller. The recoil stages will now kick in later on the bursts, to bullet 0, 3, 10, and 25, whereas before the recoil would kick in at bullet 0, 3, 7, and 13. So basically what that means is after the initial recoil kick, so after you've controlled the first 3 bullets of the weapon, you're not going to get that recoil kick again until the 10th bullet. Previously it was 7. And especially after that 10th bullet, now it's not going to be till the 25th one. Before it was 13. So if you control that early stage recoil, you can pretty much master the weapon much easier after that initial kick, which is very welcome for this weapon. This is still one of my favorite weapons in the game. Some of my best clips in this game come from me using the Reaper. I must be like the best Reaper player in this game. I absolutely love that thing. But here's what Ubisoft had to say. The Reaper Mark II is receiving a recoil refinement focused on improving comfort and consistency across both mouse and keyboard and controller. These adjustments should make sustained fire more manageable without altering the weapon's overall identity. And so everybody, that is the Year 11 Season 2.3 patch in Rainbow Six Siege. Reminder, we're going to get the Rengoku event with this patch, and the next patch video you're going to see on this channel is going to be Year 11 Season 3 with our new Egyptian shield countering defender, which is absolutely crazy to say that that is going to be our next patch in this game. That's going to bring big balancing changes as well, so stay tuned for that. But that's absolutely crazy. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on this refinement patch. I definitely think there are major things that stand out here. The Reaper, I think, is a big thing here for me, in my opinion. I really love the Fuze change as well. And yeah, I mean, Mute's going to be nice. But yeah, what is your favorite? Let me know in the comments. Have a great rest of your day. Sub if you haven't already, and stay safe. See you in the next one.